Good morning or evening or whatever time it happens to be for you. This is another recovery for singers and other performers after a late night. The band had another gig last night and feeling very sore and tired in my body, so I thought I would offer up another restorative practice. And you're welcome to join me. So I have my cup of tea to start my day. I'm still in my jams. So feel free to just come as you are and join me on the mat. All right, so let's come to standing. And today you are going to need, if you have access, a couple of balls. And they can be tennis balls. Those tends to be a little too hard for the surface of the feet. I have here two different tensions of racquetball. The harder ones I save for my back. The softer, squishier ones are good for the feet. And then golf trainers, little foam golf trainers work really well too for the feet. If you can't find any of those things lying around the house, then you just have to use your hands and do a little manual massage for your feet. It all works. So I'm going to start with the softer racquet balls, and actually I only need one because I'm going to do one foot at a time. So just place the ball that you have under your line of toes and just begin to allow the toes to spread over and drape over the ball, going from the big toe to the little toe and back. And I think I mentioned this in the last video, but one of the things that I never fail to feel after a gig is just exhaustion in my legs, just from bending and lifting and bending and lifting all the equipment, and also just standing for so long. And there was a lot of dancing last night too, so all of that impacts me the next day. So you can start to now move the ball maybe a little further back to the balls of the feet. And we have the ball right under the big toe, and then a separate section would be the ball under the rest of the toes. So kind of think of those as two separate zones. And as you're ready, you can move back towards that little indentation where the balls of the feet kind of come together in the center of the foot. That is a kidney point and can be quite sore for some people, so be aware as you move back, things can get tender in the arch. Which is why if the ball is too hard and you're feeling as though your foot's retracting off of it from the tension or pain even, then the ball's too hard. And you're better off probably using your hands if that's all you've got. So we're just kind of, shifting our way into the ball and then off the ball. That's how I'm doing it. You can also start to roll and move a little more toward the heel now. Just getting all points of the foot. Why do we do this? Why is, I'm complaining about my legs and yet I'm just working the feet? And if it isn't already obvious, they're connected. And they're connected through a chain of fascia, multiple chains actually. And so by working the feet, we're actually working the whole body. And this is how I tend to start. Or at least I used to start. I haven't lately, because of the prop issue with groups of people and the situation. But I always used to start classes this way as a warm-up for students. So then just roll from the back of the foot to the toes and back a few times. So getting that whole surface of the foot through the roll. And then let's just stand on both feet, about hip width apart. Just feel the difference between right and left and just notice what you notice. What feels different? It's probably subtle, or maybe it's a little greater difference for you. I definitely feel that the side I haven't worked is different. It feels closer together somehow. This one feels longer. And I notice a difference in how I'm standing, like my relationship to the ground. I feel closer to the ground on the side that I've worked. This side feels a little pulled up and away from the ground. So just notice those kinds of things. It's an indication that it's working. Okay, and then let's go to the first or the other foot. The other foot. So again, starting with the toe line and just draping the toes over the ball, big toe to little toe and then back. And be aware of the fact that this side might be quite different, might be more or less painful. One ball that worked for the one side might not work for the other side. You can also kind of hug around the ball with the toes, kind of grip as if you were going to try to pick up the ball. And of course the habit is always to look down, even for me. So this is just a reminder that if you can, just look ahead somewhere and then just use the sensation, your proprioception, your ability to sense yourself in space, to know where you are with that. And then just starting to work back into the balls of the feet. And into that little indentation underneath, right at the front of the arch. And then moving into the arch. So letting the whole foot just kind of fall and drape over the ball. If the toes can touch, great. The heel should also be touching. Or simply, if the ball's too hard for that or too big for that, just drape the foot and the weight of the foot as best you can. And moving towards the heel now. Now there are I've seen people do this kind of technique with the balls and kind of keep equal weight on both feet as they do this, and that created some sacral issues for me. So that's why I am pretty much just shifting my weight left to right rather than keeping equal weight down the center. And you might find that one or the other is better for you. Okay, and then just start to roll from the toes all the way to the back of the heel and back and forth as such. And then when you're ready, you can release the ball. Just set it over to the side somewhere. Let it roll away. And then standing and feeling again, both sides of the body. And now, whether they feel a little more uniform. Mission accomplished in that regard. All right, so let's come down to the ground. Just gonna move those balls. Move the bolster. So I'm going to start in easy pose. If this is not a comfortable place for you to sit or way for you to sit, then don't. You can sit in a chair. You can sit on your knees or heels. And just make some organic movements to kind of feel through the joint, through the hips, through the sit bones, and how things are. I have a lot of stiffness around the hips this morning. Right into that side body in the back. And you can start to make some circles around the pelvic bowl at the waist. So we're bringing the chest through and around and then arching the back. And so the shoulder blades come together as you move forward, and then they spread away from each other as you come to the back. And you can link the breath coming through. You inhale to the back, exhale. And then switching directions. Good, one more. And we'll come into a neutral centered position and sit nice and tall. Sit right up on your sits bones if you can. Allow the lower body to be heavy, the upper body to be light and upward moving. And we're going to work with some seated forward folds today. So just for those sore legs. So let's start by opening one leg. We'll keep the other in towards the thigh. I'm still facing forward rather than turning towards the leg. Go ahead and pull the toes back towards the shin and grab your tea. I needed a sip of that. Okay, so we're just going to start to lean towards the toes with the side body, and so you don't want to come around with the shoulder, rather keep working to open the shoulder to the back. The chest remains in the same plane or line as the leg. And just hold once you find a comfortable spot to rest and breathe. Now I am still flexing this foot. I'm kind of pushing away into space with the heel. And my knee is just slightly bent. Let's take the arm overhead now. And don't feel you have to come all the way over, especially right away. Take your time for that side body to open. You can simply reach upward and get some benefit. And then if you want to take it a little deeper and bring the arm towards the leg, feel free. I actually am feeling quite comfortable here today. Take some deep breaths. Breathe into all those tight spaces. Find how you might be gripping or holding and see if you can relax and release what you don't need to hold this pose. And then coming back up on an inhale, reaching away from the body with the arm. Good. Let's just take that shoulder and open it towards the back in circles. And hold it up to the ear. And release. Good. Okay, let's bring the legs forward just to shake both. And rock side to side. Notice what you feel in terms of the stretched side versus the side we haven't done. And then we'll go off to the other direction. So taking the foot towards the thigh, opening that leg out. And toes flexed, micro bend in the knee for its safety. And then just reaching somewhere along that leg and keeping this shoulder, the distant shoulder that you're moving away from, open behind you rather than coming forward. Long, deep breaths. There's a way that we can breathe that will allow the body to soften. There's also a way we can breathe that will allow the body to continue gripping. So see if you can find that breath that allows you to start to soften. And then you can extend your arm. Again, just look for the place you want to be and don't go any further. It's just not necessary. And then let's reach up with the arm to come up with the breath. Inhale up. Good. Okay, again, bringing both feet forward. Feeling left to right. Feeling any vulnerability perhaps that's awakened in the back. And then bouncing and rocking the feet side to side. Okay, let us take a wide-legged stretch here. So we're opening both legs now. Again, the toes are flexed, knees slightly bent. I have some purchase on my hands behind me, which is allowing me to bring that pelvis more forward and to be really high up through the spine. So there's no rounding or arching. I'm just going to turn here. What we don't want is this kind of thing, somewhere where we're rounding. So if by using the hands behind you, you can make yourself a little taller, that is preferable for your lower back. So you do want to be really careful when you're doing forward folds if you have back issues. Okay, and again, your legs don't have to be as wide as mine, or they might be open even more. It's up to you. So let's just start here with the purchase of the hands behind. So there's even like a little weightlessness through the pelvis here, the hands providing some support. I can let my pelvis drop toward the ground and kind of feel the Uddiyana Bandha, that midsection tissue falling in and moving upward, hollowing out through the belly as I breathe. And then coming forward with the hands, so tilting at the hip crease now if that's comfortable for you. And again, you don't have to come deep, you don't have to come any further than just bringing your hands in front of you. If you want them down further, feel free, or take your time to get there. So this is somewhat of an active stretch because we have the feet flexed. As the body invites you forward, feel free to come down further or stay as you are. And then if you want to, you can start to rotate through the ankles or make movements through the ankles and toes. Yawning acceptable. And then let's push ourselves back. Taking the legs together again to bounce. And rock. Nice. Now what I'd like to do is take another sip of tea. Okay, so we're going to take the left leg and we're going to bring it up into either the inner thigh and face forward towards this leg, or if it is comfortable for you, take this foot, place the foot into the groin. And if you want, I don't have any blocks. Yeah, I do. So if that's uncomfortable for you and you feel like you want to be able to rest that leg, you can always put a block underneath, and that takes some of the hanging off the hip away. So feel free to do that if you need to. So again, it's perfectly acceptable to have this foot on the ground. Okay, and again, the toes are flexed towards the body. And we'll just hold here and open up through this hip. You are welcome to use your hands again behind you as purchase to really push yourself, tilt your pelvis forward and down and take that, any rounding out of your back. And then also, if your body wants you to just kind of rest and round over the leg, feel free to do that as well. You can rest anywhere along the leg, just not on the knee. Oh, this is getting into exactly what I needed. I hope it is for you too. Deep breaths. And then let's push back up. We'll walk the hands up and release that foot. Straight out in front. Bounce. And rock. Just notice any difference right to left before we go to the other side. And do be aware that this hip might feel quite different. So you might not be able to get the leg or the foot to the thigh if you did the first time around. So first try it at the inner thigh, see how that feels. And then you can lift that foot and take it into the grind if that works for you. And do I feel, yes, I feel on this side I need a little support. So I'll be using the block. So just hanging out first here. Extended leg toes, flexed, micro bend in that knee. And breathe. Feel free to use the purchase of your hands to lift your spine. And then if you are invited forward over that leg, definitely not as flexible on this side, this morning anyway. Use your breath. That's better, body, that's better. And then let's come back up. Release that foot. Bounce. And rock. So I hope your legs are already feeling quite a bit of relief from all the tension. Mine are. Okay, so let's swing around and come down into constructive rest on the back. Nice neutral position for the spine here. Just feel the support of the ground behind you. See if you can work to release any tension of holding yourself in this position. Release to the ground. Soften the belly. Soften the groin. Now I'm just going to start some organic movement that I feel wants to happen in my body. You can follow along or you can follow your own body. Just going to give some suggestions. So one thing I'm feeling is this desire to lengthen through my spine. And there are different ways that I can do that. I can use my upper body to lengthen it away from my lower body with the arms. Or I can also use the purchase of my hands right into the groin area, the hip crease, and I can move as if moving this tissue from the upper thighs downward directly toward my feet and the bottom of the mat, and lengthen my spine as a result of that. And the belly kind of hollows out, the tissues fall back. It's a little arch in the lower back as that tissue moves away from the floor. It's a bit of traction, so be very gentle. And then if that doesn't work for you, as I mentioned, simply bring your arms overhead and lengthen through the spine in that way by reaching overhead. Same kind of effect, the belly can have a chance to hollow out. Remain connected through the feet, especially the balls of the feet. And I'm still taking deep breaths here. With each breath, the body moves with the breath, expanding and contracting. Notice that my arms are kind of hovering here. There's some connection back into the shoulder blades here. Now I can, if I want to, release my arms to the ground, but I would need to bring them back a little bit towards the sides to do that. So you can feel free to rest with your arms open as well. So this is pretty much for the psoas, that deep inner core muscle that we also worked in the other video. It's related to a lot of emotional tension. It can have a great impact on our voice. If it's tense, it can change the way our voice sounds. So we're not doing anything to majorly stretch and pull it. We're just lengthening it. Letting it soften. Good. Let's bring the arms back alongside of the body, just feeling everything coming back together. Go slow enough to feel that. And rest, take a breath. Now let's just open one side. And on the exhale, come back. Other side. Open with the breath. And back. Good. And then both arms open with the breath. And release. Good. Now we're going to take one knee into the chest. Other leg long but suspended above the ground. Toes can be flexed or pointed. Breathe. On the exhale, switch. So bring the other knee into the chest, lengthen the opposite leg, pushing away with the heel, toes flexed. And then you can feel free to point or flex. Deep breath. Release and switch. So we're just going to be going back and forth here at your own breath and pace. So extending one leg, hugging in the other. This is for the lower psoas. Feel free to hold. When you're ready, exhale and switch. Last time, we'll switch. This time, once you feel even, go ahead and let that leg slowly drop to the ground. Feel the opening of that side of the body getting longer. And then we'll take this leg, the bent knee, up towards the ceiling, pressing into the space above the heel, with the heel and the toes flexed. The knee here is quite bent, as you can see. My hamstrings are still tight. So you don't have to lengthen the leg. Keep a little bend in the knee as much as is necessary for your comfort. And then you can rotate the ankles here if that feels good. And then as a little option to you, if you want to grab hold of that foot and the toe, the big toe, and open the leg out to the side, you might need to anchor yourself with the opposite arm open. Try to keep both hips on the ground. Again, feel free to have this knee bent. There's a creature at my window. Okay. Bringing that leg back in and release. Take a moment here just to feel the effects. What a difference a little bit of movement makes. Okay, then let's do the other leg. So we want to bring the knee in. Go ahead and lift the extended leg just off the ground. Hug that knee in close. And then slowly let that long leg to the ground so you can feel some release, some opening in the front of the hip there. Then you can extend the bent leg up towards the ceiling, pulling the toes back towards the shin for a little more effect. Rotating the ankle if you like. And again, optional. You can either stay here if this is enough for you and you're tight. Otherwise, bring the foot in towards you, grab hold of that big toe. I didn't mention it, but of course use a strap. If you have a strap, just loop it around your foot. And then extend the leg and the arm for counterbalance. And try to keep this hip from coming off the floor. You can a little. Bringing that leg back and lengthening into Shavasana. We have arrived. Any kind of movement you want to do here before you enter stillness. And any props that you might want in the back of your head. If your chin is jutting, we definitely want to help correct that, bring it parallel. If you need something under your knees. And if it's chilled, be sure to cover yourself with a blanket. So, if you are a singer or performer sharing this practice with me, then, like me, you might have spent the night thinking about the show and how it went and the things that went well and the things that didn't. And so here we are in the next day. And, I don't want to think about it now. I want to be present and in this moment. So you can use the breath to strongly call back your energy from the evening. And release yourself back right here, right now, with a few deep breaths. Let thoughts of the show go or whatever happened go. the good or the bad. Might be sometimes harder to let the things that went wrong go, just as important. Be present with sensation, with breath. So it's interesting, I just feel a smile on my face. There's no reason. I'm not thinking about anything. It's just that inner spring of here now. And the pleasure of having moved the body and released tension. So we'll come out now. We begin to move fingers and toes. Pandiculating, which is kind of lengthening, tightening tightening around the bones, pressing into the ground, and then reaching, lengthening with that tension. Good. Bring everything back, and you can begin to roll yourself onto one side. And I'm going to suggest a child's pose just because my back feels a little left out. So I think I will do a wide-legged, but you know there are a lot of variations here. Knees can be completely together, a little bit separate, or as wide as the mat. I like to take this wide for a bit of an inner thigh stretch. I'm going to bring my hands in a little closer so I can push myself upright. And you know what? I'm going to do a little lion's breath here. So just have your hands wherever they're comfortable in front of you, the wrists under the shoulders. You're going to breathe in. As you exhale, you're going to open your mouth wide, stick out your tongue, open your eyes wide, and let the breath just flow from the very, very deep belly right out. Breathe in and release. One more time. Good. Bringing my knees together and coming into a seated, comfortable position for you. Rubbing the hands together. Bringing them to the chest. Breathing in. And release. And that concludes our practice. I hope this has been beneficial for you. I'm feeling great. All right, take care.